Good afternoon, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the sharing on 30 years of smartwatches and what's next on the occasion of the HKTDC Hong Kong Watching Club Fair. We are pleased to have invited Mr. Leung, CEO of EZIO America, to give his presentation.
Well, good evening, everybody. So today's talk and sharing, I'll be doing this in English, and I'll be also doing a Q&A session, also going to be in English, but you may also ask questions in Chinese, so I'll reply you in Chinese as well. Okay, so today's talk, what is the subject? 30 years of smartwatches and what's next. But before I begin, I'd like to introduce you a little bit about myself. So what I do, why am I talking about smartwatches? Well, it's really simple. Look at a watch. Why do people buy watches? They buy watches because they want to have perceived value, and sometimes they buy very expensive watches. People buy very expensive watches for a reason. Because they want to pass it down to their generations, and they want to even to their grandchildren, and have a more monumental value and try to keep that tradition. Well, I'm actually from a family business, and my grand-uncle is actually in the watch business as well. And my father is in the traditional but fashionable watches. And right now, I stand here, I'm actually a producer for watches, but just a lot smarter. So today, let's talk about what 30 years of smartwatches. Well, right now we're in 2014. Are we in the future? Or are we still in the past? Well, look at the setting. I'm a little confused. Why is this setting so traditional and antique, yet we're still living in a very futuristic age. 2014 doesn't seem to be too futuristic to us at the moment, but we don't know what's going to happen in 5 or 6 years, 10 years. So let me refresh your memory a little bit back why there's a 30 years of smartwatches. Because it only started 2 years ago, right? If everybody recalls, it only started about 2 years ago, and how could there be a 30 years? So let me refresh your memory by having the following slides. I'm going to put my water down. All right, so let's start. All right. I know the screen is a little small, but I'll try my best to let you know. You can see the number there. 1972, Hamilton had a smartwatch. I mean, literally, it's really just a digital watch, right? But why do I call it a smartwatch? It's because when quartz watches came out, back when my granduncle was working on it, during the 70s already, it created a huge hype on digital watches and digital movements, modules. And then big companies already seen these type of opportunities, and they're very interested in trying to see how they can move these type of traditional watches to the next level. So this one, the 72, is one of them. And then remember all the time with the Casio, with the calculator watches? That's also a computer. It's a sophisticated piece of smartwatches back then, back in the 80s. But then, why wasn't it called a smartwatch back then? It could have been a smartwatch, but I guess people thought it wasn't smart enough. So what happened was, let's look at what's next. In the 80s, the Seiko also came out with another smartwatch. Well, it's actually another sort of a calculator watch, but with a little bit more sophisticated functions. It's just like a mini computer. But what does it do? You could probably look it up later. It's called RC1000. So it has like data bank. It has a very little memory in it, and it stores some sort of data. Okay, and then all the way jump to the 90s. Timex Indiglo. In the digital watch world, everybody knows what that was. Timex Indiglo had an Indiglo light that shines, and it was very special already back then that, there was light coming out from a watch. It wasn't a normal LED light. It was actually a whole board on the surface. It was all already illuminating. And then look at the Timex. Back then, Timex also had a watch. Oh, that was Indigo, sorry. And then year 2000. So year 2000, everybody thought it was, you know, the millennium and, you know, things should happen already then, right? So what did they do? What did the industry do? So IBM wasn't even in the watch industry. So why are they making a smartwatch? Well, back then it was still a computer watch. So actually, they actually did make a computer watch. In the year 2000, IBM made a computer watch. And all the functions was just processing data and simple things that people didn't really need. So remember, you know, all these watches that came out back then, they had a niche, they had something going on, but there was no need, really. I mean, there wasn't a market yet for it. People weren't ready back then. So let's look at that. 2003, there was a Palm and Fossil actually joint venture and had a project together that made a PDA watch. That was a lot smarter. You know, that was actually a handheld device. Back then it was called Palm Pilots, like we called handheld devices. And a lot of people used that back then, and it was starting to get interesting. It helped your life. It helped scheduling. It helped make yourself improve in management, time management, and everything else. Okay, then let's look at 2009. 2009 was actually the year I started this this business. 2008, 2009, and when 2009, LG came out with their first cell phone watch, mobile phone watch, and it was already 3G back then. It was quite advanced. And actually, my brand came out with our phone watches just a few months before them. So what happened when LG came up with their smartwatch, it actually helped me a lot of credibility, and people are starting to understand what's going on. And then 2010, Apple Nano, the iPod Nano 6th generation actually wasn't really a smartwatch, but people thought it would be cool to put on an iPod Nano 6 on their wrist. So brands would automatically come and think of ways how to put a strap onto a Nano, and actually that went quite well. And that actually changed a lot of people's perspective on putting a wearable computer onto your wrist. Okay, so let's look next. Oops, sorry. Okay, so 2011, okay, Moto Active. I was actually the sole distributor for Moto Active in 2001 for Asia. That product was amazing. That product actually had battery life for like 5 days, and it has built-in GPS, and it has a pedometer, it has Wi-Fi, it has Bluetooth, and it connected to your phone. And you can actually use a headset that came with it and connect it to your phone and touchscreen and answer, and then it go through your headset. That whole combination was amazing. It also had something called ANT+. ANT+ is like a wireless type of, similar to Bluetooth, and that was connecting to the bicycle cadence sensor and your heart rate monitor belt strap for your chest, and just to monitor your activities and your health and fitness. Another cool thing that actually this watch did, and still yet nobody have ever done, was they, with the heart rate monitor, the computer device, this smartwatch will realize how fast your heartbeat is going to predict, to actually choose the type of music you should be listening. Is that cool or not? So basically you'll be jogging at a pace, maybe it was slow, it will give you a slower tempo type of music on your, obviously, whatever you put into your database. And then when you want to work harder, work out a lot more, it's starting to give you more. It's starting to increase the tempo, and because it realized your heartbeat is going up. So that was really smart. And then let's look at the next one. 2012, Sony finally came out with their smartwatch 1. They actually had a version before Sony Mobile was still called Sony Ericsson. It was called LiveView. But let's not talk about live view and talk about this one. 2012, Sony came up with their first smartwatch called Smartwatch 1. Smartwatch. That wasn't as smart as the Moto Active though. It was a lot weaker, but they had a positioning on creating this smartwatch for people who don't need that much functions. So like the Moto Active, that was a lot. All right, so this is the 30 years of the smartwatch that I'm sharing with you, but what's now? What's at least 2013 and 2014, what's going on? Okay, so let's look at the next slide. Well, this is actually an Excel chart that I done on my own research. And this actually shows what happened last year in 2013 and this year, 2014. I know it's quite small, so I'll try to run you guys through what's going on here. Okay, so we call smartwatches now companion device, wearable tech, or just wearable. Okay, so the Martian watch was a Kickstarter project, and all it does was it gives you an alert. It created freehand analog movement with a touch of tech with an OLED display just to give you an alert. And then Cuckoo, which was connected device, they're also over here at the Wearable Tech today. Cuckoo also came out with a similar concept, but they're a little bit better now. It's more catered for our everyday use. You don't need to recharge it. You can just it uses a pill battery like the CR2032 battery that will last for a year. So actually it's quite convenient. You don't have to recharge another device. So all it does is also it gives you a notification on calls, notifications, WhatsApp, and that type of stuff. I'm sure everybody have heard of Pebble, right? Pebble is a phenomenon. Pebble had only Pebble started about 6 years ago, believe it or not. They started 6 years ago trying to develop something that nobody has done. And they perfected 2 years ago and created a huge phenomenon. Pebble actually, the difference with Pebble and with the rest of the smartwatches out there now, the bigger brands, is that they got 20,000 developers in their community, meaning that they're not employed by Pebble, but they're actually like people programming developers that like this product so much, they feel that there's a lot more that they can do and add more functions to it. I can't list out all those. I mean, if you think about it, there's 20,000 developers, and if they just need to do one app each, it's just going to be too many apps already for just a watch. Obviously, we know iPhone has a lot more, but as a wearable tech, they're the top dogs right now. Wim Watch, nobody knows about it, but they got bought out by Google, and now they're launching the 360, the Moto 360. They bought out Wim. Wim was a Google platform, a device, smartwatch. It was just too cool, so they were trying to actually offer a solution to the watch industry, but they were bought out by Google. And the Moto Active I talked about. IMWatch is interesting. IMWatch is an Italian brand that didn't need any funding. There was some rich guy in Italy just said, okay, let's get in the game. And they just started this this venture with smartwatches. They actually did pretty well the first 2 years. And now, because of all the bigger brands, have more and more technologies that they cannot follow and to develop their own. And where are they now? We don't know. Now let's talk about Samsung, right? Samsung actually draw our attention, and that's probably why most of you are sitting here today. Samsung has the money to do a lot of advertising and to let you know what a smartwatch is all about. But until the day you actually play around with a smartwatch from Samsung or Sony, you really don't know what it is all about, right? So Samsung just made their own smartwatch. They had Gear 1, the first generation, Gear 2. Now they got the Gear Fit. Now today, in the IFA in Germany, they're actually going to announce a new one called the Gear S. What the Gear S is, it actually has a SIM card in it, built into it. All these smartwatches that I just talked about did not have a SIM card. But the only common thing that all these smartwatches has is they all do the same thing. It has a notificator, like a notification that alerts you. But now, what Samsung is doing is they're trying to replace your phones. They're trying to replace your smartphones. But can they do that? I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see if you can really give up that big screen of yours and see if this little screen can do the job, right? Well, I see it a little bit differently. Small screen is always going to be a problem, right? So even though that Google developed Android Wear right now, that's especially for the smartwatch industry, they're trying their best right now to try to figure out if that user interface is going to be good for you and easy access and everything. So I personally feel that it takes a little bit more than just a user interface change. So what's going to happen next? We don't know yet, So, but I can give some insight of what my vision and what I expect from the market and for the big brand leaders. So I think these are all the slides. There's a lot more, but I think I'm going out of time. So right now, there's going to be more coming. There's going to be a Motorola 360, iWatch is coming. iWatch is actually working on this smartwatch thing for at least 3 years, believe it or not, Because everybody's talking about it. When people are talking about it and they're not doing it, it doesn't make sense, right? So it means that obviously they're doing something. And you know what? They hired the top management from Burberry to figure out how to make their smartwatch more fashionable. Just trying to figure out how can they improve wearability. Not just to create another gadget that you'll throw away after 3 months. That's what we do, right? Phones, 6 months max, a year in Hong Kong at least. But a smartwatch, how long can that last? Okay, so let me round up. Let me get this seeing what's next. Okay, let me just try to get at that now. So I really think that in the smartwatch industry, the fashion industry is really trying to get a piece of this too, and the tech industry doesn't know how to do fashion. So what's going to happen? There's going to be a lot of crossover going on. Today, in IFA, Sony is going to be announcing, going to have a public announcement. Actually, I'm doing this on Sony's CEO behalf now here. But I know as a fact that they're actually going to be announcing that they're going to be doing a crossover with other brands. Why are they doing that? Exactly. They don't know how to do fashion. So they're going to leverage fashion brands out there to get their tech product more wearable, to get you understand, to make you feel that you're not wearing a toy every day. You're actually wearing a timepiece or a jewelry, an accessory that you wear every day. Because, I personally like a lot of gadgets, but I can't wear this 360, I can't wear this all year. I can wear this for like a month at max. But why don't I wear this all the time? It's because it doesn't look cool enough. It doesn't look, it's cool at the beginning to a lot of people, but it doesn't match my jacket. It doesn't match my shoes. It doesn't match my look, really. So what do? A lot of the fashion brands, a lot of the main brand out here are really good at doing trendy things, right? Fashion things. Color matching, fabric, material, all that actually is quite important. And this is exactly what smartwatch is lacking right now, is they're lacking a lot of this fundamental of what fashion is all about. So, next is, I think that there's going to be something very cool that we'll be seeing from Apple, because Apple is not going to be just one of the followers like the other brands out there. So we're expecting good things from Apple. And what's next? In 10 years, 20 years, I don't know. Let's look at that picture. Okay, so remember this movie In Time, okay, from Justin Timberlake? Look at the time he has on his wrist. It's not even a watch anymore, all right? So it's already embedded in his wrist. And I don't know if that's going to happen to us one day, but more importantly, I think right now is, you know, we have to understand what time is power and time is money. And that's it about today.